It's me, Miss Menagerie. There's my cat, Selena. I am Amy Ann. I'm a cozy JRPG, or sometimes just regular RPG streamer, and I am drawn to video games in the same way I am drawn to books. I write, therefore I must play. I have many core memories of video games that have made, the specific video game special for me. Earthbound is one of them. Earthbound is the second game in the Mother Trilogy. I have memories of Earthbound from kindergarten, but I didn't learn about the rest of the trilogy until I was like in my 20s, I'd say. I didn't get to play them all the way through until I was almost 30. In February 2022, I started my first playthrough of Earthbound Beginnings, Mother 1, on stream. Together, my community and I played through the entire trilogy in 3 months. And in 2012, 2014, somewhere in that area, I read the Divergent Trilogy. And today, we will be talking about both Mother and Divergent. Mother 1 is about a boy named Ninten. He's barely 10 when his parents send him on an adventure to stop the inhabitants of the world from going insane. You have to learn 8 different songs and present them to the queen in order to save everybody. Along the way, you meet 3 companions who all mean something to you in one way or another. Anna is my favorite. She loves wholeheartedly, especially Ninten. And in the end, you beat the entity trying to break the world. Mother 2 has somewhat of a similar story. There is more of a defined antagonist, and he is Ness's next-door neighbor. At first, we are to think he's being controlled by an evil creature, but he's really the one in control, and stopping him will save the world. And then we come to Mother 3. Lucas's Franklin badge reflected the masked man's lightning back at him. The masked man took damage from the lightning bolt. From the very beginning, it isn't even the same storyline. It starts out asking the player to name the 4 characters, but these characters aren't a team, they're a family, and the story is about so much more than them. Mother 3 consists of 8 chapters. It begins with a tragic end in Chapter 1. In Chapter 2, you become the player of someone who had earlier been introduced as a side character. It turns out he's one of the 4 teammates at the end of the game. In Chapter 3, your player character is a monkey who doesn't even seem to be relevant to the story at all. And then Chapter 4 is when it really starts getting into the story, 3 years after it began. Lucas. From somewhere, you heard someone call your name. From here on, our permanent team is Lucas, the boy who lost everything, Duster, the man who lost his memory, Kumatara, the princess who lost her identity, and Boney, the dog who has nothing to lose. Yeah, the world is losing too. Klaus. It was Hanawa's voice. It failed to reach the masked man. Magic is being lost in the form of Magypsies, 7 beings who are magic themselves. Each Magypsy is tied to a needle, a sword that has been buried in the earth. Once their needle is pulled, the Magypsies, are removed from the earth, no longer serving their purpose of protecting the dragon that sleeps under the earth. Klaus, stop this. You aren't Porky's robot. You're our son. The masked man looked around. The one pulling the needle determines how the dragon awakes. If the spirit of that person is dark, the dragon will wake in destruction. If the spirit of that person is light, the dragon will wake in peace. Lucas, look out! Flint jumped in front of Lucas. The masked man's attack dealt major damage to Flint. Klaus, please remember, I've been looking for you for so long. Flint suffered major damage. Flint couldn't stand up. A masked man, a boy, really, has pulled the first needle, and Lucas is to be warned by the Magypsies. The boy's spirit is believed to be dark, while Lucas's is light. Lucas needs to pull the remaining needles so that the dragon will wake in peace. Klaus, you and Lucas are brothers. It is easy to guess who the masked boy is. But why would we need to beat him to pulling the needles? We don't need to beat him to every needle, and by the time we make it to the final needle, it seems we are tied. The boy who pulls the needle from the sleeping dragon will determine how the dragon awakes. The final chapter of Mother 3 is when the game makes the connection to the first 2 mothers. The masked boy is not, in fact, the villain of the story. He is being controlled by the real villain, the same character who controlled Mother 2's real villain. That's right, Porky has come out to play. Can you hear me? You're Klaus. Your name is Klaus. You're our son. Toki has been waiting to see Lucas because he's very excited to reunite Lucas with the masked boy at the final needle. To reunite Lucas with his twin brother, with Klaus. It has been Klaus pulling the other needles this whole time. But he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know who he is. Not until this final fight. That is... Please. Remember. Lucas. Klaus. To think we would be blessed with 2 children at once. I bet they'll accomplish things together that they couldn't alone. I'm sure they'll argue a lot too. And I can see them helping out each other when they need it. Klaus. And Lucas. I bet we'll mix them up a lot until they get bigger. Klaus. And Lucas, huh? How do you want them to be? How do you want them to grow up to be? To be kind, just like you. Oh, I was just gonna say. To be kind, just like you. Great. Then it's decided. Klaus. Lucas. Make us proud. At the end of this fight, Klaus remembers, and he is forgiven. He passes on so that Lucas can pull the final needle and wake the dragon. The masked man covered his ears. Lucas isn't sure what to do anymore. The masked man shut his eyes. Lucas isn't sure what to do anymore. The masked man gazed at Lucas. Lucas wanted to cry. The masked man is gazing at Lucas. Klaus. Klaus. Klaus, come to your mother. You must be so exhausted. Come here, Klaus. The masked man looked around as if searching for something. The masked man removed his mask. His face looked just like Lucas's. It was Klaus. Klaus fired an intense bolt of lightning. Lucas's Franklin badge reflected the lightning back. Klaus took mortal damage. Klaus staggered toward Lucas. Klaus embraced Lucas. Lucas remembered Klaus's smell. I'm sorry it turned out like this. I'm really happy you could be with me just before the end. Thanks. Dad? I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. I'm going to where Mom is now. Lucas, I hope we meet again someday. Bye. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sure we'll meet again. Klaus gave his final breath. He passes on so that Lucas can pull the final needle. Lucas, thank you. Klaus was just hasty, that's all. You'll forgive your hasty brother, won't you? Alright, this is it. The time has come for you to pull the dragon's last needle. Are you ready? Both Hinawa and Klaus have entrusted fate to you. Believe in yourself and pull that final needle. Nothing needs to be sealed away anymore. Let's make the Dark Dragon sealed underground our new friend. Pass your heart on to the dragon. Pray to it from the bottom of your heart. Ask it to protect all life in this world. Me and everyone else. We all believe in you. So now you need to believe in yourself. Now go. The dragon is waiting to wake up. He passes on so that Lucas can pull the final needle. Your life and the lives of all who believe in you. Will you put it all on the line and pull the final needle? And wake the dragon to destruction. The world is destroyed. The ending of Mother 3 is ambiguous. That's what my brother said. I'm still not entirely sure what it means, this ending, but I very vividly remember saying one thing as the world was destroying itself around me. Is this Divergent all over again? Divergent is a dystopian trilogy written in the early 2010s by a young adult author, Veronica Roth. But it wasn't Divergent itself that broke my heart. That was the first book. The first book introduced Triss, a fearless girl in dystopian Chicago, and from the very first sentence, she had my heart. I saw myself in Triss. And in Insurgent, the second book and my favorite of the trilogy, she finally stood up for herself, and it was as if somebody was standing up for me. When Triss died at the end of Allegiant, it was as if I'd lost myself as well. What Allegiant made me feel, I never felt again until I finished Mother 3. I still believe that Veronica Roth killed her protagonist simply for shock value. A good fictional death is when the loss of the character adds to the story rather than takes from it. Hanawa's death in Chapter 1 added to the story of Mother 3. Klaus would have had no reason to go off if not for his mother's death. He never would have fallen to injury and be turned into Porky's robot. Triss's death took from the story of Allegiant. The story was already over. The day was saved. Her death was simply a cop-out to break Four's heart. As for the destruction of Lucas's world, well, I don't know if it took or gave to Mother 3's story. I don't know what it means. I only know that it made me feel the same way Triss's death did. And so I put so much of myself into that game for so long, only to lose that part of me all over again, just as I did with Triss. You know, I thought I was going to make so many more points between the stories of Mother and Divergent. Earthbound was my favorite, and so was Insurgent, but maybe that's just because the number 2 has always been my favorite number. Mostly, I was just heartbroken by both. I just bought the Divergent Trilogy years after it broke my heart. I just bought it yesterday, and maybe in 8 more years, I'll be able to play Mother 3 once again. And maybe I won't feel like I'm losing myself as the world is destroyed. And oh, wait! Ow! Watch where you're walking. Can't you see where you're going? It's okay. This isn't a dream. I'm reading this in Porky's voice, but I don't know if it actually is Porky's voice. It's a miracle. A real miracle. It seems everyone's alright. I thought everything was about to be destroyed, but everyone is alive. The only way to describe it is as a miracle. Did the dragon's revival give power to all life? That nearly scared me to death, but I guess this is what they mean by a crisis gone is easily forgotten. In any case, everyone should just peachy keen now. We're all just peachy keen, you know? Peachy keen. That was scary. That was the very definition of scary. Say, are you Amy Ann? Oh, you're okay. That's great. What a relief. Hey, everybody. Amy Ann is over here and doing just fine. Amy Ann, Lucas said he wanted to meet you. Amy Ann, thank you so much for everything and for helping Lucas and the others. This world might have been completely destroyed had it not been for you. To be honest, I was so scared the moment Lucas pulled that last needle. I did have faith, though. Yay! Good news, Wolfie, and we just finished, it looks like, the game. I had faith, but I felt a kind of fear so bad that I almost expected my entire body to blow apart. But as you can see, everyone is just fine. We've regained something incredibly immense. Don't know why, but I can't stop my tears from coming out. What is this feeling? What could it be? This is the first time I've ever seen you cry, Kumatara. You're really cute now that I look. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Stop it, stop it! You're stepping on me! Even mole crickets are living creatures too, you know? Poke, poke, hee hee hee, who poked you in the back? Guess who? Incidentally, I'm Wes, and it wasn't me. I'm Alec. I didn't poke you in the back, Amy Ann. He's playing innocent, but Wes was the one who did it. We're both alive and well. Isn't that right? We're both well. Oxygen. Oh, have we met somewhere before? Me? My name is Rope Snake. I was just considering living a quiet life as a snake rope now. If you happen to find that kind of sad, then please talk to me and say thanks. And your jaw saved us all. No ordinary snake could have done that, nor an ordinary rope. This conversation is turning out to be long, just like the snake I am, but I'm pleased to make your acquaintance. Amy Ann, was it? I'll be certain to etch that name into my mind. Have a good new year. Have a good new year. Well, how'd they know that we're at the end of the year? Oh, the monkeys! Huh? Now that my saving job is over, I think I'll settle down and take care of the tadpoles. Thank you for everything. No, wait, it's the other way around. Tripped down. Tripped down, hit nose, on ground. Aw, Boney, I'm doing well too. You touched something rolling around. The rolling thing wobbles with glee. There seems to be something inside, but you can't really tell what it is. Is it Porky? Your foot hit something small and round. It's the doorknob! The doorknob! I got the doorknob. Oh, Amy Ann. Thanks. I feel so incredibly thankful for everything you've done. Thanks for everything. I wish we could always be together. We just met, and now we have to say goodbye. All the people of this world are saved, thanks to you. Thank you, Amy Ann. That was fun, Amy Ann. Let's meet again sometime. We can meet as many times as we want. Amy Ann. Bye. What's the world there like? It looks like things will work out here. But what about your world? Will it be alright? Hey, Otherworld. Be good to Amy Ann. Thanks. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye! Thanks so much. Come back sometime. Thanks for everything. Amy Ann, we'll meet again sometime, right? Don't forget us. Goodbye. Thanks. We sure had a lot of fun, didn't we? Thanks. And there it is.